Welcome, everyone. Ready for a deep dive into brain evolution?
Sounds fascinating.
We've got excerpts from John Montgomery's The Self-Evolving Brain to guide us.
Plus, the book's index and references
Let's trace how brains went from simple beginnings.
to the complexity we see today.
Starting with a basic question. What's the fundamental purpose of a brain anyway?
It's really about being a buffer
A buffer.
against a constantly changing environment.
So helping organisms survive.
Exactly. Finding food, avoiding dangers, adapting.
Makes sense, but how did these complex organs even appear?
Well, what's amazing is even single-celled organisms.
Like bacteria.
Yes, they showed surprisingly intelligent behavior.
Intelligent bacteria, how so?
They sense their surroundings.
So they pick up on changes.
Right, and they even retain traces of memory.
No way.
It's true. And they make decisions, all without a brain as we know it.
Decisions. What would that look like for a bacterium?
Picture this. A bacterium swimming towards food.
Okay, following a scent trail.
Yes. It senses that, remembers the direction, and adjusts its movement.
Wow, so it's choosing based on information it gathers.
Precisely. Basic decision-making at a microscopic level.
Mind-blowing. So we see the early seeds of complex brains.
Absolutely.
Now, to understand those, we got to zoom in.
On the building blocks, you mean?
Right, the fundamental components.
Well, at the core, you have neurons.
Those specialized cells.
With their tree-like dendrites and wire-like axons.
Dendrites and axons, bringing back biology class memories.
Those are the communicators of the nervous system.
It's amazing how such tiny structures
Form the networks for our thoughts, feelings, experiences.
Exactly. And how do they actually communicate?
Through electrical signals called action potentials.
Action potentials.
For crucial innovation.
How so?
It enabled fast communication over longer distances.
Leading to more complex nervous systems.
You got it. It was a game changer.
So action potentials are like the brain's language.
A perfect analogy. And within that language, we find systems.
With ancient origins.
Yes, like the serotonin system.
Found in both vertebrates and invertebrates. Serotonin, often called the feel-good chemical, right?
It's way more than just that.
Really? Beyond mood regulation.
It stabilizes neural activity, influences social behavior,
It does all that.
and even contributes to a sense of well-being.
So beyond mood, it ensures our brains function optimally.
A true multitasker in the brain.
Absolutely. And its presence in such diverse organisms.
It's fundamental to nervous systems.
A common thread across the vast tapestry of life.
Beautifully put.
Now, speaking of diverse organisms,
What about them?
comparing brains across species.
To understand evolution.
Right. Where do we even start with such variety?
Well, if we focus on mammals,
Okay, mammals.
one key area for comparison is the neocortex.
The neocortex, that wrinkled outer layer.
Exactly, the one linked to higher level thinking.
Unique to mammals and primates, have a highly developed one.
That's right,
And I've heard about maps within the brain.
especially in the neocortex.
Wait, actual maps? Like road maps?
It might sound strange, but yes, we find visual maps, motor maps,
And maps for our sense of touch, too.
all laid out across the brain's surface.
Unbelievable. Give me an example. How does this mapping work?
Think about the motor cortex, controlling movement.
Okay, got it.
The hand, needing intricate control, has a huge area devoted to it.
Compared to, say, the leg muscles.
Precisely. The brain allocates more processing power.
To body parts demanding fine control.
It's like a map where crucial areas are larger.
Emphasizing their importance.
And
Amazing.
those maps are dynamic.
Meaning.
They change as we learn new skills, refine our movements.
So our brains constantly adapt and evolve. Incredible.
It is.
But how does the brain integrate new features?
Without messing up existing ones.
Yeah, seems delicate.
Imagine an old power plant.
I
You can't just rebuild everything from scratch.
To keep it running, right.
Exactly. You add new control systems on top of old ones,
So new brain areas emerge and integrate.
ensuring survival while expanding capabilities.
It's like adding apps to your phone without deleting the OS.
A great analogy.
Now, where do genes fit into this whole brain development process?
They're essentially the architects.
Guiding the construction.
Yes. And we've discovered these fascinating homeobox genes.
Homeobox genes.
They act like master regulators.
Regulating what exactly?
The body plan of an organism, including the brain.
So they're like blueprints.
Precisely. And get this. A single gene, Pack 6.
Pack 6, okay?
It controls eye formation
In all organisms.
across a wide range of species, from fruit flies to humans.
Wait, the same gene for eyes in creatures that different.
It's remarkable, right? But that's evolution,
Repurposing existing mechanisms.
building on a common foundation across life forms,
So, from a simple light-sensitive spot,
to the human eye's complexity.
all traced back to this one ancient gene. It's incredible.
It really highlights the power of evolution.
Makes you wonder how vision even started to evolve in the first place.
Well, we can look at Amphioxus.
Amphioxus.
It's a small marine animal with a basic eye spot.
And that's significant because...
It's believed to be the precursor to complex eyes.
So, Amphioxus gives us a glimpse into the early stages.
Exactly. It's rudimentary, but it has the basics.
Which are?
Pigment cells to detect light,
Okay.
and neurons to send signals to the nervous system.
So, from that simple starting point, evolution did its thing.
Gradually refining and expanding upon that design.
Like starting with a rough sketch and ending up with a masterpiece.
A fantastic way to put it.
Now, what about warm-blooded animals, like birds and mammals?
What about them?
Did that development impact brain evolution?
Absolutely. Maintaining a constant body temperature,
Required some serious adaptations.
which had a huge impact on brains.
So warm-blooded animals need more energy, hence more food.
And that means needing a more sophisticated brain to find it.
It's all connected.
Precisely. Increased food intake, efficient breathing, even parental care.
All shaping brain evolution.
You've got it.
So staying warm triggered a cascade of adaptations.
Leading to larger, more complex brains.
A fascinating example of evolution's power.
Isn't it?
And if we look at mammals specifically,
We can trace their lineage back to these creatures called cynodonts.
cynodonts. Tell me more.
Small, active predators with features foreshadowing mammals.
Like what?
Differentiated teeth for chewing, a key mammalian trait.
So not rows of identical teeth like reptiles.
Right, different teeth for different purposes, just like us.
Evolution always building on what came before.
That's the beauty of it.
Speaking of building, what about play? Did that play a role?
For young mammals, absolutely. It helps the cortex mature.
So they learned essential adult roles through play,
Exactly. Especially important for species with large brains.
which require extended parental care.
You got it.
Yeah.
Play highlights the crucial role of that care.
Now let's jump to primates. What unique brain adaptations did they develop?
Well, they're masters of tree life.
Arboreal lifestyle.
And that had a big impact on their brains.
How so?
Front-facing eyes gave them better depth perception.
Crucial for navigating a three-dimensional world.
Exactly. Essential for judging distances, especially while swinging.
Having eyes in front gives you a much better sense of depth.
You're right. And combined with grasping hands.
It led to incredible hand-eye coordination.
A hallmark of primate dexterity.
Fascinating how seemingly small changes, like eye placement,
Can have such a huge impact on evolution.
it makes you wonder, what about the entire primate visual system?
Oh, it's incredibly complex.
In what way?
Information from the eyes goes through specialized brain areas.
Each area doing something different.
Exactly, extracting different features from the visual scene.
So instead of a jumble of colors and shapes, our brain breaks it down.
Precisely. There are areas for analyzing motion, color,
Even facial expressions.
all contributing to our rich visual experience.
It's like our brain has a team of visual specialists,
A great way to think about it.
which brings us to the social brain.
Interesting topic.
Did primates' social structures shape their brain development?
Definitely. There's a link between brain size, lifespan, and social complexity.
So larger neocortex, larger social groups.
Exactly. Navigating those interactions demands a powerful brain.
And humans, with our big brains and intricate social structures,
We're a prime example.
leading us to the evolution of the human brain itself.
Fascinating stuff.
What key factors drove its development?
Well, one major trend is the increase in brain size over time.
Our brains are huge compared to our primate relatives.
You're right.
What caused that rapid expansion?
There are theories, but one idea is our ancestors' migration,
Out of Africa and into new habitats.
facing new environmental challenges along the way,
So adapting to new climates, food sources, and predators.
requiring a more sophisticated brain.
Like our brains had to level up to survive.
Exactly. A larger brain meant greater cognitive flexibility.
Problem solving, innovating, adapting to new niches.
Precisely. It gave them a significant advantage.
It makes me think about tools and how they played a role.
Tool use is definitely connected to brain development.
Because creating and using them requires complex skills,
Motor skills, planning, foresight.
all linked to a bigger, more complex brain.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
Bigger brain, better tools, further brain development.
The physical and cognitive evolution intertwine.
And the fossil record shows this, right?
Absolutely. As hominid brains grew, we see more sophisticated tools, from stone flakes to hand axes.
Each tool a testament to the growing power of the human mind.
And that intelligence is reflected in their social structures, too.
Meaning,
Larger brains, more complex social groups.
with cooperation, communication, even symbolic thought.
You're getting it.
So our capacity for language, art, culture,
All rooted in the evolution of our brains.
amazing.
The human brain is a social brain, wired for connection,
For communication and cooperation.
which has allowed us to achieve so much as a species.
Now, thinking about intelligence itself,
What about it?
can we measure it across species?
With all this diversity in brains, it's a tough question.
I can imagine.
Intelligence is multifaceted, hard to define, let alone measure,
What we consider intelligent in one species.
might be totally different in another.
So it's not just brain size.
It's about structure, interaction with the environment, the social group.
A dolphin might be brilliant in water, but not on land.
Exactly. Intelligence is context dependent.
So instead of ranking species,
We should understand the unique adaptations of each.
each species has its own evolutionary story.
And its brain tells that story.
When we study brain evolution,
We're exploring how life solved survival and reproduction challenges.
but it's not a simple progression from simple to complex.
Right. More like a branching tree.
Each branch a unique adaptation.
A fantastic analogy.
And like a tree, brain evolution continues.
Even today, our brains are evolving, responding to our modern world.
Wow, the story of brain evolution is still being written.
Absolutely. With each generation, each new technology, each challenge,
Our brains are adapting.
it's a never-ending process.
That's incredible. We carry billions of years of evolution in our skulls.
Every thought, feeling, action, a product of that journey.
It really is remarkable.
And as we learn more about brains, we appreciate the diversity and complexity of life even more.
I'm suddenly very grateful for my brain.
Even with its quirks.
Even with its quirks,
We all have them.
this deep dive has been amazing.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I'm leaving with awe and a new appreciation for our brains.
Wonderful.
And a deeper understanding of how they came to be.
It's a story that keeps unfolding.
So much to think about.
There is. There are downsides, though.
To having big brains.
It's not just about the energy they need,
What else is there?
the time it takes for them to develop.
Human babies take years,
Exactly. They're totally dependent for so long.
longer than most other mammals, that's for sure.
And that extended care, that's another cost.
For the parents,
They invest huge amounts of time and energy.
which limits their own reproductive potential.
It's a trade-off. Fewer offspring, but more invested in each one.
It's fascinating. Brain size tied to parenting behaviors.
Like a co-evolutionary dance.
Makes me wonder about fathers, though.
What about them?
We often think of mothers as the primary caregivers.
Especially in mammals.
Do fathers play a significant role, especially with larger brains?
It really depends on the species.
Oh, so it varies.
Take gibbons and siamangs, for example.
Those primates.
Yes, fathers are super involved in caring for the young.
So it's not always just the mother's burden.
Not at all. Fathers share the responsibility.
And there's a connection to lifespan, right?
There is.
Go.
In species with involved fathers,
The males live longer.
it seems that way.
Why would that be?
Evolutionarily speaking, if the father's crucial for survival.
His longevity becomes more important for passing on genes.
Exactly. Natural selection favors longer living dads.
The caretaker effect.
And it's not just primates.
Really. Other examples.
Killer whales, they have huge brains.
Those are incredibly smart animals.
Their calves stay with their mothers for life.
Wow, their whole lives.
And in those populations, females outlive males.
Again, the mother's lifespan is crucial.
It seems to be a pattern.
Parenting's role in evolution is more complex than I thought.
It shapes a species' development, especially for large brains.
It's not just nurturing, it's influencing the course of evolution.
You've got it. Parenting, brain size, lifespan, all connected,
And in humans, this interplay gets even more fascinating.
doesn't it?
So back to the human story.
What about it?
What can we learn from our ancestors about our own brains?
Well, one striking thing is the dramatic increase in brain size.
Over a relatively short period, too.
It is quite remarkable.
We're giants compared to our primate cousins.
Right.
What drove that change?
A lot of theories out there.
I bet.
One idea is our ancestors' migration out of Africa.
Into new, challenging environments,
They had to adapt to new climates, food sources, predators.
requiring a more sophisticated brain.
Precisely.
Our brains had to level up to survive.
A larger brain brought greater cognitive flexibility.
For problem solving, innovation, adaptation.
Exactly. It was a key advantage.
Makes you think about the role of tools in all this.
Tools and brains, definitely connected.
Creating and using tools requires complex thinking.
Motor skills, planning, foresight.
All those things point to a larger, more complex brain.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
Bigger brain, better tools, even bigger brain.
The physical and cognitive evolving together.
And we can see this in the fossil record, right?
As brains grew, tools became more sophisticated.
From cymbal flakes to hand axes, and eventually even more complex.
Exactly.
Like we're seeing our ancestors' intelligence increase through their tools.
And their social structures, too.
How so?
Larger brains led to more complex social groups.
Evidence of cooperation, communication, symbolic thought.
It's all there.
So language, art, culture, these things that make us human.
All rooted in the evolution of our brains.
Our brains are social brains, wired for connection,
For communication and cooperation.
leading to all these incredible achievements.
It's remarkable.
Now, thinking about intelligence itself,
What about it?
how do we measure it across different species?
With such diverse brains, that's the challenge.
It's not a simple question, is it?
Not at all. Intelligence is multifaceted, hard to define.
And even harder to measure across species.
What we might consider intelligent in one.
Could be totally different in another.
Exactly.
It's not just about brain size then.
It's about the structure, the interaction with the environment.
The social dynamics as well.
All of it plays a role.
A dolphin might be a genius in water, but struggle on land.
You're getting it. Intelligence is all about context.
So instead of ranking species,
We should focus on understanding their unique adaptations.
each species has its own story.
And its brain reflects that story.
Brain evolution, it's about how life solves problems.
The challenges of survival and reproduction.
It's not a straight line from simple to complex, though.
It's more like a branching tree.
With each branch, a unique adaptation.
A great way to visualize it.
And like a tree, brain evolution continues.
Even today, our brains are changing.
They are. Still evolving.
Responding to the demands of our modern world.
So the story's not over yet.
Not even close.
Wow, that's incredible to think about.
It is, isn't it?
We're carrying billions of years of evolution in our heads.
Every thought, every feeling, a product of that incredible journey.
Makes you appreciate the complexity.
And the diversity of life,
I'm so grateful for my brain after this deep dive.
even with all its quirks.
Even with the quirks, yes.
They're part of what makes us unique.
This conversation has opened my eyes to so much.
It's been a pleasure discussing it with you.
I have a new appreciation for our brains and their history.
A history that's still being written.
And we get to be a part of it.
We do.
It makes you wonder, what's next for human brain evolution? Are we still evolving?
That's the big question. It's fascinating to think that while our brain size hasn't changed much in the last 100,000 years, there are hints of subtle changes at the genetic level.
So even though our skulls aren't getting bigger, the wiring inside is still being tweaked. Are we talking intelligence, social behavior, or something else entirely?
It's hard to say for sure. We're just starting to understand how genes affect brain development and function, but the possibilities are exciting to consider.
Imagine brains even better at problem solving, or more resilient to stress, or even more wired for empathy and compassion. The possibilities seem endless.
They really do. And with technology advancing so rapidly, it's interesting to think about how our interactions with it might shape brain evolution.
Are we talking merging with machines, becoming cyborgs, that sort of thing?
Maybe not that extreme, at least not anytime soon, but consider how smartphones and the internet are already changing how we think and process information.
It's true, our attention spans are shrinking. We're bombarded with information constantly and relying on devices for more and more cognitive functions. Is that actually changing our brains?
It's definitely changing how we use them, and it's possible these behavioral shifts could lead to changes in brain structure and function over time. It's something we need to study carefully.
It's both exciting and a little scary to think about technology's impact on our brains. It's like a giant experiment, and we don't know the outcome.
It reminds us to be mindful of how we use technology and how we take care of our cognitive health. Our brains are amazing, capable of incredible things, but they're also vulnerable to our environment and choices.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey through brain evolution. I'm leaving with a sense of awe and a new appreciation for our brains and how they got here.
I'm so glad to hear that. It's a story that's still being written, and we have the chance to contribute to the next chapter.
So much to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, keep those amazing brains engaged and keep on learning.